if the car leaves and the customer calls us within 20 minutes with anything other than a positive comment or something to say, and we've failed. We failed. All right? The 20-minute rule. The last thing I want is a customer to pay good money to have his car done at Florida Performance. He drives the car out of the parking lot and calls me within 20 minutes with something negative to say. Hey, I have a noise. Hey, I have a check engine light. Hey, something doesn't feel right. I'm not happy with this. All of that can be avoided with a proper and thorough quality control process, guys. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Battered Mechanic. I'm your host, Eric Bentley. Shout out to Pompano Beach Fire Rescue. I'm wearing their hat today. If you guys have a hat you want to send in, you want me to wear in one of my episodes, I would be happy to do that. Just make sure it's not anything weird. Okay? I got a really, really great episode for you today. This one's short and sweet. This one today is sort of sharing my own quality control process, my own philosophy behind quality control. You're a shop owner out there, right? You're doing a great job. You're kicking ass. Everything's going really well. But every now and then you get a car that squeaks through that maybe something's wrong with it or you miss something or whatever it is. So, quality control obviously is a real, real big one. So today we're going to focus on quality control. Episode 7, the ABCs of QC. All right, let's dive right in. But before we do, again, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for checking it out. Like, comment below. You know the deal. We're putting this out for free. It's no cost to you guys. This is just stuff coming right out of my brain. The good, the bad, the ugly of the automotive industry. I hope you're enjoying it. And if you don't like looking at me and my ugly face while I'm talking on YouTube, you can always check this podcast out on its audio format on your favorite podcast app. Okay, so don't forget, if you're walking down the street with your dog, if you're at the gym, if you're even driving to work, you can still listen to the show, and you don't have to look at these high cheekbones. All right, episode 7, the ABCs of QC. Let's talk about quality control. Right at the end of the day, what matters? Quality. Quality above all else. I assure you, it's all that matters. You could do a job and everything's great, and then one little thing happens over here, and the whole thing goes to shit. Right? So you could do 90% of it great, and then you miss a little thing over here, and it all goes down the toilet. So you could be the greatest guy in the world, but you don't tighten a little nut down over here, and it all goes down the toilet. So at the end of the day, quality is key to success in really any business, but we're talking about the automotive industry here. And your quality control process is very important. It's often overlooked. A lot of people have processes for getting the job and processes for handling the money and ordering the parts and doing the work and all that stuff. But nobody's really checking on the work. Nobody's really watching what's going on. If you're a larger shop and you have technicians, is the guy having a bad day? Does he not know what he's doing? I don't know. Did he just miss something because he's human, right? Always talk about shit happens factor. Well, the shit happens factor is at an all-time high in the automotive industry and the performance business especially. So we need to put things in place to make sure that the shit happens factor is mitigated. It's never eliminated, but at least reduced to a point where we can manage it. And if something is to occur along the way, we catch it long before the customer ever takes the car home, and then something goes wrong, and it's all downhill from there. You get that Saturday afternoon phone call when you're having a beer and barbecuing with your kids at the house, and the customer calls because the car blew up or whatever the case is, right? So the ABCs of QC. All right, let's get right into it, guys. Always focus on quality. Quality, right? I always say quality over quantity. I would much rather put out quality work and have a little bit slower shop or a little bit less work than have a ton of work and just put out absolute shit work. All right? At the end of the day, it may cost you a little bit more. Your turnover may not be as high as you'd like it to be, but the quality is all that matters. And it's a long-term play, guys. All right. I know it's sometimes, again, you get the bills to pay on Friday, and you always talk about you got the overhead that's due, and a car maybe isn't going to get done in time, and that's going to affect the bottom line for that week, but it's okay. If you've prepared yourself financially for some up and down time, and you're focusing on that quality long term, the business will do very well. I assure you, it's a ironclad, proven way to have a successful automotive shop, performance shop. All right, so quality over quantity. I cannot stress that enough. Quality control, where does it begin? Where does it start? Well, it starts with the owner and the culture of the business, and how the owner has set that place up, and the culture they have established that should trickle down through the technicians and every aspect, every nook and cranny of that business, right? If you've got an owner or a manager or whoever, a founder that really just cares about the money and doesn't really care about the quality they're putting out, and is more interested in just quick turnover and getting the thing out the door, that ultimately is going to sort of fester and infect everybody else in the organization. And it's also customers are going to see it, right? The place is going to be maybe dirty, or the social media content maybe not where it needs to be, or the online presence is it's whatever. You know what I mean? This guy is just money driven. He's at the bottom line, got to get the cars done, get them in and out as quickly as possible. It all starts with that person. So, as the owner of Florida High Performance, I always try to really stress with my guys and express how important it is that we're all about quality, right? If at the end of the day, the car is going to take a little bit longer to get done, that's okay, right? I would rather put out a quality job that takes a little longer, and we can laugh with the customer later that it took so long, but at least the job's done right, than to rush it out the door and it's shit, because that's never going to end well. All right? So it all starts with the ownership, starts with the management, and it trickles down from there. Shop owners out there, guys managing shops out there, you want to cultivate a culture of quality over quantity, okay? And when you do that, everybody, as long as they buy into it, things will vastly improve. And in fact, as I said, over a long period of time, your bottom line will improve. Always. It's proven. Your environment plays a huge role in the quality of your product and your service. What do I mean by that? Your environment. Is the shop that you're working in a pigsty? Is it a dump? Or is it a beautiful, organized, clean work environment, right? You could be the baddest technician on the planet, but if you're working in a shithole, guess what? The type of work that you put out ultimately over time is going to suffer, okay? You're going to be hot and sweaty and pissed off, and you're going to be tripping over stuff, and the organization is going to not be there, and it's going to make your life miserable, and it will show in your work. You're going to get burned out. You're not going to enjoy going to work. You're not going to wake up in the morning and say, I look forward to going to wrench today. Excuse me. So, a lot of the quality control that the owner is trying to establish and put together starts with the environment that you're creating for your technicians and other people that are working with you. We are in the process of moving our facility from Boca Raton, Florida, down to Pompano Beach, about 30 minutes south of where we are now. I'm investing heavily. I'm investing a ton of money into this facility. It's much larger, but we're doing everything from the floors to the ceiling. We've got a large fan in there to keep the air moving, keep it nice and cool. We actually have AC in the shop too for the hotter summer months. We're putting a ton of procedures and policies in place for organization. Essentially, our technicians, I want them to walk into the shop. First of all, I want them to wake up in the morning and be excited to go to work for Florida High Performance and build some badass cars. How am I going to expect them to do that if I don't provide the type of environment that nurtures and that, helps them do that, the best work that they can, right? I certainly, that would be an unrealistic expectation. So I, as the owner, have decided to dedicate lots of, time and money and effort into building and creating a beautiful shop for these guys to work. So your environment plays a huge role in the quality that's ultimately going to come out of the end, guys. So don't skimp on that. If you've got a shop that's dirty or messy, clean it up. You know what I mean? Take some pride in your place, and that will show through in your work. Align your shop with like-minded vendors. This is a big one. So quality control. Let's say we're doing a head cam swap on a Camaro, late model Camaro, and I talk a big talk and I drum up the business and I tell the customer, hey, we're doing the best job ever. We're the best. And but you use a product or a part that's not quite to your standards for whatever reason, maybe their quality control process is not where it needs to be. Well, at the end of the day, who's going to suffer? It's not the guy making the part, right? It's going to be you and the customer that suffers, right? You've essentially used a part that's not meeting your standards or not meeting your quality control, and it's going to cause a problem. All right. So you want to make sure as an owner, that you align yourself with like-minded vendors, guys that have that same belief in their quality control, quality over quantity. I'll give a shout out to Manton Push Rods in California. Matt and his guys there. Manton push rods, right, they make other things, but we use them exclusively for our custom push rods. Why? I could very easily go out and buy a cheaper push rod that's mass produced in overseas, that's made with material that's okay, and that truthfully in 90% of the builds we do will work just fine. The problem is I don't trust the material necessarily completely, and I know that Manton and I know the guys over there are just totally dedicated to the quality, providing the highest quality push rod that they can, both in the materials they use and the machining. So while that's just a small component in the bigger picture here, that's why I've gravitated to Manton. That's why we use their products, because they're on the same page. Cook's Custom Headers and Exhausts in North Carolina, they're on the same page. I've toured the facility. You see it in one of our episodes here on the channel. We actually helped them develop the Z06 header, so the C806. Dedicated to quality completely in every way, from just the building that they're in is beautiful to, the machines that they have. So when you align yourself with like-minded vendors, it just makes the whole process better. It makes your quality control process so much better and so much easier. You don't have to worry so much about it. Is this part going to do what it's supposed to do? Is it going to fail? It sort of takes the edge off, and it's less things to have to worry about. We have a rule at Florida High Performance called the 20-minute rule. If we've built a car, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a tune or a full build, whatever it is, doesn't matter how long it takes, doesn't matter how extensive the build is. If the car leaves and the customer calls us within 20 minutes with anything other than a positive comment or something to say, and we've failed. We failed. All right? The 20-minute rule. The last thing I want is a customer to pay good money to have his car done at Florida Performance. He drives the car out of the parking lot and calls me within 20 minutes with something negative to say. Hey, I have a noise. Hey, I have a check engine light. Hey, something doesn't feel right. I'm not happy with this. All of that can be avoided with a proper and thorough quality control process, guys. Test drive the vehicles. Double check your tune files. Scan the car when you're driving it. Make sure everything's working correctly. Think about potential check engine lights that may come up, right? If we've turned off the rear O2 sensors or whatever the case is, or, we don't want these things to occur, especially within the first 20 minutes, because that's when the customer is most excited about picking up the vehicle. And it's just something about that 20-minute window. Not that after 20 minutes, it doesn't matter, of course. I talk about in other episodes, I talk about following up with the client 2 and 3 days later. That's also very important. That's also part of the quality control process. It goes on forever, really. It never ends. But that first 20 minutes, if a customer comes back to Florida High Performance with an issue, that's not something that is necessarily something we did. It's not something simple. We failed. And that's what I preach to my guys. And we're dead serious on that 20-minute rule. And we stick to it, and we stick to our quality control processes. And I can tell you, I could less than on one hand, the amount of people have come back within 20 minutes with a major issue. In fact, I don't think we've had any actually. So obviously that's what we're doing, and we're sticking to that. And last bullet point on the A and the ABCs of QC, you're only as good as your last job, guys. You could be the baddest dude on the planet. I've talked about this before. You could have the best reputation. You could be doing this for 30 years. All right? You're only as good as your last job. If that last job leaves the shop and it's dog shit, you're dog shit. Okay? Figuratively speaking. You could have awesome reviews. The guy just left the shop with a shitty car. You're only as good as your last job, guys. So you should always be focused on doing the absolute best you can every time. And it all comes down to a solid quality control process, having systems in place, having checks in place, and sticking to it each and every vehicle. You can never deviate from that. All right. Be on top of your staff and processes, right? We just mentioned processes. Be on top of your staff and processes. What does that mean? All right, well, this is getting into the nuts and bolts of a good quality control process, right? First of all, hire the right people who give a shit. Right. Of course, people are always the hardest part of any business. Having good employees and finding good technicians is very difficult in this business. I'm very lucky. I've got a great staff. I've got a great group of people who surround me who help this business grow and who help do what we do every day and at a very high level. But it's taken a long time to get that. It didn't happen overnight. But I hire good people who care. It's so easy to hire a guy who's technically good but just doesn't give a shit. That's easy, and it'll come through in his work. You know what I mean? Hire somebody. I'd rather hire somebody who's not as good, who can learn, but who really cares about their craft and their quality and who wants to buy into what it is that we're doing at Florida High Performance. Hold your technicians accountable, right? If they make a mistake, hold them accountable. Say, hey, you made this mistake. We're going to learn from it. Don't maybe beat them up over it, but, because we're all human, but hold them accountable. Hold them to a high standard. All right. If they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, let them know that. If they're not meeting your standards as an owner that you've set, let them know that. Hold them accountable. Don't let them get away with shit. If you let them get away with an inch, they'll take a mile, right? As they say. Same goes for technicians. So owners, stay on top of your techs. Hold them accountable. They'll appreciate that too. They'll know that you're into the business. They'll know that you're vested in it, and in return, they'll do great work. Right? Because that's ultimately what people want to do at the end of the day. I don't think people go out and want to do shitty work. You know what I mean? Listen to your technicians. So not only hold them accountable, but listen to them. Let them hold you accountable, right? As the owner, it goes both ways, right? You also need to be accountable for running a business properly, right? So listen to your technicians. If your technicians say, hey, we can change this process here in this part of the build that's going to really help put out a better quality product, take that into consideration. It's not your way or the highway, right? These guys are out there in the trenches working for you, putting out the best work that they can. They might have great ideas. Listen to those ideas. Implement them if they make sense to implement. So listen to your technicians. There's so many owners out there that sit back and it's my way or the highway and do it my way or else. It's not how business works, right? Especially in the performance business, things are constantly changing and evolving. So, your technicians are out there. They're working on the cars. They're seeing stuff maybe you're not seeing. Listen to them. Consider their advice or recommendations, and if it makes sense, implement them. You live and die by your technicians. Treat them as such, right? This is all going back to hiring good people. At the end of the day, if you hire the wrong guy, it could bury your business, right? So you live and die by having really good technicians and a really good quality control process and having guys that buy into that. So make sure you treat them well. That's a big one, right? Treat your technicians well, guys. One thing we do at Florida High Performance is we have standard quality control checks and procedures. So let's say I have a guy doing a head cam swap on a Camaro. There's going to be a checklist of things that he has to do and fill out. Did he torque this? If so, what were the torque specs? What was the result of this or that? Or, take notes, right? That way they can check their work and that way I can check their work, right? So it's sort of like a checks and balance kind of thing. You'll have to have standard procedures that are in writing that you can explain to your guys, like, this is how we do things, this is how it works, and we do it the same way every time. We don't deviate from it. I QC every single vehicle that comes through Florida High Performance personally, but long before I ever QC the car, my technicians are QCing the car. Hell, have the technicians QC each other's work. Have them check each other's work along the way. It's always good to get a fresh set of eyes on a car if you're building it, right? So have standards and procedures, have them in writing, make sure they're crystal clear, make sure everybody understands them and buys into them, and then have them check each other's work, long before the owner comes out and checks everything at the end. It's already been QC'd 2 or 3 times. Sure enough, you might miss something or not see something, and that's going to go a long way to providing the best absolute quality that you can. So that's a big one that guys are missing. C, all right? C in the ABCs of QC. Constant improvement is the key to success. Do not rest on your laurels. Stay humble. I don't care if you've been doing this for 30 years and you're the best on the planet. All right? You should be constantly improving your operation, whatever that is. Whether it's on a quality control level, whether it's on an efficiency level, whatever it is. As an owner, you need to be looking at every angle. All right? I'm never satisfied. If you talk to my techs, if you talk to the people who work with me at Florida High Performance, they'll tell you that I'm always striving to improve my operation, and we've got a long way to go. Right? It's not an easy business, and we're doing that. We're getting a new facility, as I said, so we're doing what we can to improve the environment and improve the quality control process. But that will never end. I'll be doing that until the day I'm dead and I'm out of this business. That's a huge mistake I think guys make. They get complacent. They get comfortable where they're at. They get burned out. They don't really care anymore. It's whatever. You have to avoid that. As I said, don't rest on your laurels. Create a culture of greatness. And again, we've talked about this. It starts with the ownership. Create a culture of greatness. Your technicians should want to be just as good as you are. They should want to excel. They should want to succeed, and they should want to build an awesome brand and put out the best work that they can. So create that culture, all right? Stay humble. That's a big one. It's you guys sitting on their egos, man. The ego, that'll kill you. A big ego, that'll bury you, man. Whether you know it or not, whether you think it will or not, it will. It will. It'll show through. Your people that are around you won't like it, and it'll create sort of a cancer. So stay humble. Learn, train, try new ideas, incentivize your technicians to get certifications or, to go to training seminars or whatever it is to better themselves, right? Constantly gaining more and more education on whatever it is that they're doing. So that all goes back to the quality control steps, right? So you're constantly improving that. And if you do these little things, your quality control process overall will improve immensely. The number of comebacks that you are experiencing will drop dramatically, and overall customer satisfaction will go through the roof. It costs a little bit of money, takes a little bit more time. Again, it might affect your quantity, your turnover might go down a little bit, but the quality is going to go way up. And I promise you guys, at the end of the day, if you're in this for 20, 30, 40 years, that's all that's going to matter. Okay, the amount of cars that you turn over doesn't mean shit if all of them are crap. All right. Last but not least, guys, pay attention to your competition. That's a big one. Pay attention to your competition. See what they're doing, see what they're not doing. Watch trends in the industry. What are things doing? How are people getting things done? And try to learn from your competitors. There's nothing wrong with that. If they're doing something that's working, maybe try to implement that into your business. So, guys, these are the ABCs of QC, quality control. I hope you found value in them. It's a short list. There's obviously a lot that goes into quality control. Love to hear from you guys out there that own shops. I would love to hear what things you've put in place at your operation that have helped the end result, that have really helped you put out the best work you can. Comment below. Again, I'd love to see it, and I'll bring that up in future episodes where, I'll take some of your comments and extrapolate them. And again, no matter what, guys, it always comes down to what I always say at the end of every episode. Good quality control, right? And being a good business owner and running a good shop, it's never easy. It's always hard. And so long as you remember that and you live and die by that, you're going to be just fine. You're going to be very successful. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment below. I can't wait to see you on the next episode of The Battered Mechanic. I am Eric Bentley, and that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you next time. Thank you.